Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome back to the Rod Shop. It's early. It's 3:28 in the a.m. I wasn't going to film today, but I thought since I was going through all of this design process on my accent trim bands and my hook keeper and my labels on these 6 identical spinning rods, I thought I'd take you through the process since I'm out here trying to figure it out anyway. So here's what I have done. I have decided, this client likes the Fuji 909 red and 903 silver metallic for accents. We are going to be using the recoil, the black, I guess that's black pearl is the finish on these recoil guides. So what we're going to have is red, silver trim band, black hook keeper, red, and then an area for my labels. So here's what I've done. I took my graph paper out. I've got my label printed already. And I started moving stuff around and honestly scribbling here, trying to figure out exactly how this was going to look. And I got to this one here. So what we're going to have is you have reel seat, and this is drawn to scale so that I really get a good visual of what's going to look like. Is that we're going to have a 10 mil in the metallic red, and then we're going to do a 4-turn silver accent, which should be about the same width as this silver band here. So it'll be silver carbon fiber, the black arrow reel seat, 10 mil red, and then a 4-turn trim band. It should match that. And then we're going to have just open blank, and then this will be in the red metallic for the width of the foot, which is about 10 mil. So we'll have 10 mil red silver, 10 mil red, and then this area here will just be clear epoxy first coat because it says an x-ray blank and it's got the ribs, and my label actually fits in here with a 10 mil open clear epoxy on both sides. So this will actually go up in here like this, because my red for my hook keeper is going to start right here. I should have 10 mil open, 10 mil open. So that's how I did my design. Again, I've been in here doodling for probably, I don't know, 45 minutes trying to figure it out. And I started this yesterday trying to figure out how I wanted this to look. Because typically, with this particular client, there's a foregrip, so it changes the look. But this was not the foregrip hood. This was just a standard hood. So with the foregrip, it would have another trim band out here in silver, and I would just have red underneath. So this is a little bit different, trying to stay in the same theme with this client. He has bought a lot of rods from me, and he really likes the way I take the time to do this kind of layout. So let's get started on actually putting this together so you can see how it goes. So let me get all this stuff out of the way. I'm going to move my label out of the way over here because I've got 6 more just like it, or 5 more just like it. I'm going to move my my very bad art out of the way. I am not an artist. I'm a rod builder. We're using the Fuji, and I believe this is 909 is this color red, and then the 903 silver for accents. But anytime you use metallic thread, start with a fresh razor blade, because the white core, if you don't cut it clean, it becomes a hassle to make it go away. Because these metallic reds, it's a white core of nylon with metallic coating on the outside of it. So we are in wrap mode. I'm going to cuddle way down here. Okay. To start with, let's mark where the 10 mil red is going to end. And I sharpened my pencil. This came in that set I showed you guys. So we're going to do 10 mil of red, and then there'll be the 4-turn silver outside of that. Alright, let's get some tools down here. We're going to need some scissors. Going to need a couple picks to move this thread around. Now, something that's very important when you're dealing with the X-ray blank with these ribs and this metallic thread is that your thread tension is critical here. Because if you have it too tight, it's not going to move properly, and it's going to jump over these ridges, the ribs, and you're going to have a gap. So I've got my thread tension. It's actually pretty loose for the way I normally wrap, but it's important that we do that. So, and it came out of this carriage. I switched carriages because doing this metallic thread is actually easier on the carriage where you don't tension the thread itself, you tension the spool. And this is one of the things I hate about metallic thread, is it jumps around off the spool like it just did. Alright, so let's wind it back. We're going to need silver accent piece. So let's pull some silver out. I want enough here where I'm not fighting it, but I don't want too much that it's in the way. So let's cut a piece of silver here. And I'm going to pin it underneath. This is going to be the bottom of the rod. Obviously, it's a spinning rod, and I put the hook keepers on the top just to keep it away from the line as it's coming off the spool. I got the hood locked down tight. I'm going to pin this back here just to hold it temporarily till I get the red started, and then we're going to pull under to hide that. Alright, we'll take this over here out of the way for now. We're going to wrap over this for a bit. Okay, got enough slack that it'll pull in tight there. That'll be fine. Let's start the red. So what I'll do, got my stand set perfectly for this rod. It took a while. My stands were getting out of whack, so I went back and completely leveled everything yesterday. Got no wobble. I'm going to pin this up here with a piece of tape just for a second to get this started. Now I know you can just do a couple turns, but in here to start a wrap, I prefer to start them this way, especially on the X-ray with the ribs, because I don't want it jumping everywhere. Let's pull this back. Now, get in here and pull it down. Alright, we just crossed over, but it's not exactly like I want it. So I'm going to start moving some of these threads already. Moving this back. There's going to be an epoxy ramp here. So this will get magnified. So you got to be careful that it looks the way you want it. And I don't believe that I got enough thread tension. So let's see, I'm going to tighten this up just a hair. Alright, let me turn some more light on. Sorry for the shiny head, guys, but I gotta have some more light to see what I'm doing. Right, now, that thread tension is a little soft for what I normally like. I'll pull it just a little tight to biting that down. Tighten that up just a bit. There's my 10 mil mark. So we're going to work out towards that, trying to get all of these gaps nice and tight. Alright, it's time to unpin this trailing edge here. Take that out of the way for now. You see, I was trying to pull it across the ribs and open up gaps. Push that tag down a little bit so it's not quite as noticeable. Okay, now we're getting close to the 10 mil mark. So I want to bury, I'm going to put a thread pull in so I can pull the red. I'm going to put it in right here. I'm going to run out closer. To that 10 mil mark. Now, one thing I want to do is I want to pull this silver underneath the red to hide that tag in. I'm going to cut it as close as I can with my curved scissors. And then we may pull it a little bit. To bury the end. Well, you know what? I may not have to. What I would have done if I couldn't have cut it that close and be able to tuck it up underneath is I would have taken this very carefully and pulled that little tag in a couple threads in here, and you wouldn't have the silver end and the white center core, and you wouldn't have the white center core of the silver showing. But it didn't. I didn't need to. So we're going to work our way out to our 10 mil mark. We're getting close. That's the 10 mil mark right there. And we need to put a second thread pull in. We'll pull in the silver, which I probably should have put in a couple turns ago. But I need to pack this back anyway. And you can see how that thread will jump over these ribs if you don't have your thread tension too tight. I could have added this silver in a couple turns ago, but I like doing it this way. It makes it simple for me. But there's other ways to do these trim bands. This is just how I like to do them now. See, I packed it back and my 10 mil mark is still showing. And I've got 3 turns of red. Nope, it jumped over. Nope, that's fine there. It jumped right here. You got 3 turns of red over that thread pull. just covered our 10 mil mark. Check it. It just disappeared. They're right dead on 10 mil there. Yep. Okay, so we will cut the red, pull it through this first thread pull we just put in. Alright, so we're going to cut the red, dump it in, pull this through. And then I'm going to pull some additional tension here in a minute once I pack it back. And the red's nice and tight in there. I'm going to pull a little bit more tension on that, and then I'll cut the red out of the way. Get this where you can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm laying flat on the blank. Careful not to put that razor blade edge tight, and then I'm just going to clean razor blade. Absolute necessity. A clean, super sharp blade makes that very easy because that red is gone. Okay, now it's time to do the trim band. So now I'm going to put 4 turns in here with the silver. There's one. There's 2. So we're getting close. This is the beginning of the 3rd turn to that thickness. I'm straightening this metallic out. It likes to twist on you. So that's a full 3. We're getting close. I'm going to put the 4th one in here. And that's just about the perfect width. Yeah, actually that's pretty close to the thickness of the butt trim back here, somewhere in between. I think I'm going to stick with my 4 turns. I like it. Now I'm going to pull it through. It goes under the silver, under about 4 turns of the red. So we'll pull this through. Put some tension. Burnish that back before I cut it. Jump over that last rib. You can see how it's separated right there across that rib. Pull that a little tighter. Okay, sharp razor blade again. Open a little bit of a gap. Put that in here, flat on the blank. Pull to it, nice and clean. But I do have a little bit of a silver tag there showing. What I'm going to do is burnish that down in the gap between the reds. And see if we can't get it to disappear. Most of it is. There we go. Okay, the only thing left, besides the epoxy work, is is tying this hook keeper down. So I'm going to line it up straight on the top. I'm going to tack it down where I want it to stay. I'm going to pull this other tape off that I had for just positioning it. Now let's wrap this red. And here we go again with the metallic red, uncoiling and getting. This is why I normally use my other carriage. I'm going to figure out a solution to this. I do like this carriage, except for when the metallic thread does that. It likes to uncoil itself and get tangled up in the spring. Okay. As long as you have tension on it, it doesn't do that, but as soon as you make the cut, it goes poof, and there you go. So we're going to start this wrap back here. Get that out of the way. Alright, that is right on the mark. So start this red back here. And even though I'm using a power wrapper, I'm really not wrapping it any faster than I would be if I was just hand wrapping it. I've got my toe with just a little pressure on the wrapper. The actual motor, I've got just a tiny bit of pressure on it, so it'll turn that fast if I release it, but I can hold it, or I can spin it fast to get around. You know, I still kind of hand wrapping, but I'm using the power wrapper kind of more like a power assist than anything else, because I'm not changing the speed on the power wrapper other than by my hand turning the rod and reducing the resistance on the motor, or holding it and increasing the resistance, but I'm still same constant pressure on the pedal. Okay, so getting close. We're about 7 or 8 wraps from the termination of this band. So I will insert a thread pull here. Just straighten up my edges here. And I'm going to pull that thread. Switch hands here. Okay, now we have 10 mil red, 4 wrap trim band. It's about an 8 mil opening there, so this will be a very tight, clean edge when I do the epoxy. Leave a gap. I have epoxy from here to here, which is why I've installed this tape here that's got a folded flag on it, because that's exactly where I want the epoxy to stop. I'll put the epoxy on, I'll peel the tape, use some paper towel, squares, and alcohol just to clean that edge up nice and neat, and this will be done. I still got one little white silver sparkle right there. that I'll work on right before I put the epoxy on. But that's it, fellas. I think it looks pretty cool when I get the epoxy, and then the label will be underneath here. It's gonna be a nice look. You'll be able to see this. The ribs will magnify under the epoxy because there'll be about 3 coats of epoxy in this area. There'll be at least 1 before the label and probably 2 after the label. It's gonna look really cool. But anyway, that's how I do my layout. My crazy engineering, overthinking it, but I want all 6 to match. If it was just a one-off, you know, it's not that important to have a pattern. You just want to make it look good. And that usually is easier just to, okay, that looks great, that looks proportional, and then you move down to the next thing. But I do have 6 of these that I'm building at the same time. So it's important to me that they're nearly identical. Now, obviously, we're building custom rods here, so they're not going to be exactly identical. But I've already done my static load testing. I've got my guides taped on. I've added an additional run of masking tape here where I have marked where my guide feet are, and when I get down to the micros on the end where the actual ring is, so that when I put my next number 2 of in here, I can put these exactly in the same spot. So they will hopefully 6 laying in a row there, leaning up against the wall. They're going to look identical. Now they may be off a millimeter here or there, but the goal is to have them uniform. So this is how I do it. It may not be the right way to do it, but it's how I do it. That's it for this layout. I hope you guys got something out of this. Maybe not doing it exactly the way I do it, but hopefully you saw something that triggered something else in your mind. You're going to do something, and you're going to change a method or pick up put additional method in your build process. So if you have any comments about what I've done here, or if you have any better ideas, please put them down in the comments. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.